everyone. My name is Judd Marcello, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of FarEye. FarEye is a technology company. We offer a delivery management platform specializing in last mile delivery logistics. And if you don't know enough about us, I encourage you to stop over at our website, fareye.com, and download our latest ebook, The Last Mile Mandate. This is your instruction manual on how to turn deliveries into your competitive advantage. And this is Special Delivery. Special Delivery with FarEye is our monthly LinkedIn Live series. Every last Thursday of every month, we're going to be here with you talking about trends in the industries, bringing on very interesting guest leaders within the industry, and we're going to be talking about deliveries. What else would we talk about, right? We're a delivery company, but we're not just going to talk about that. We're going to talk about related topics like supply chain, e-commerce, customer experience. We're going to bring to you what's happening in the industry. And I want you to think about us as your pulse of what's happening in the industry. We're constantly looking for innovations, constantly looking at trends, constantly look at what's happening in the industries that are allowing deliveries to progress, to become a bigger part of brands' overall experience. So we're going to bring that to all of you. Okay. Now, look, this is a 30-minute show, so we got a lot to cover. First off, I'm going to talk about one trend that we're seeing right now that we think is very interesting. And then I'm going to bring in a fantastic guest, Alex Graf, co-founder of Spryker. We're going to talk to him a little bit about what he does. Okay. Now, let's just dive right into this. A little bit of a segment here we call Rip from the Headlines. Okay. There's an interesting trend happening right now, right? And if we can get that slide up here that just shows those headlines, that would be great. There's an interesting trend right now where we're seeing retailers getting into the last mile game by offering up their own delivery networks to other vendors. Now, obviously, there is a really smart business play here where these brands have either created these highly efficient delivery networks on their own by building them, or they've created them through acquisitions. But they understand the importance of last mile to an e-commerce business, to a retailer's business, because of the emergence of e-commerce, because of the fact that more people are ordering things online and bringing them to and bringing the storefront to their front door. Now, what they're doing is taking these delivery networks that they have, right? Delivery, logistics, and fulfillment services, and they're bringing them to retailers. The funny thing about this is that what they're doing is turning what is traditionally thought of as a cost center, all the costs involved in delivery and logistics and operations, and they're turning it into a profit center. They're leveraging their supply chains and delivery networks and turning them into a revenue generator for themselves. Now, one of the headlines is that I'll bring up right now is from, let's see, it is from American Eagle, right? So American Eagle, Goliath meets David, Quiet Logistics, that's their brand for their delivery network, launches an anti-Amazon network. What they're really saying is, hey, smaller retailer, we're going to give you the same tools that Amazon has and allows you to utilize an efficient delivery network and focus on delivering a superior customer experience. Gap said the same thing. And I want to pull up a headline from Gap as well. Let's see, here we are. Gap enters logistics and fulfillment space with their GPS platform services. Same thing as what American Eagle is doing. And I think even more telling, here we are, we've got those headlines up. Even more telling, let me just turn that off. Even more telling here, Walmart. Walmart 1 year ago created their own last mile delivery services for other retailers. Walmart Go Local. 1 year later, they're already focused on they're already delivering over 1 million deliveries in 1 year for other brands. This just goes to show how important last mile is, how important creating an efficient delivery network is to remain competitive, to drive down costs, to scale your business, and to focus on creating a superior customer experience. So look, today, any business that considers itself a customer-centric business should really think about themselves as a delivery and logistics company, right? To turn the delivery experience into a competitive advantage, you have to have a last mile strategy. And these brands are telling us that. Now, if you do have a last mile strategy, it's going to be one of three things. You're either going to spend $100 million and build it yourself internally. You're going to spend lots of money and go acquire a company and just plug and play. Or you're going to buy a proven last mile delivery solution or technology and then implement that. So what do? I have a hint for you. Focus on fast time to value and cost effectiveness. Okay? For anybody here who has a last mile strategy, I'd love to know what it is. In the comments, please add your thoughts around what your current last mile strategy is or how you're thinking about last mile. Okay. One of the things I just mentioned in there was when you utilize an efficient delivery network, it allows you to focus on other important parts of the delivery process. One of them is customer experience. Customer experience, we like to say the first rule of last mile is to deliver a superior customer experience. And there are companies out there that are helping other companies do this as well, specifically when it comes to deliveries and e-commerce. And now I'd like to bring on our guest for today, Alex Graf. Alex is the co-founder of Spryker. He hosts a podcast called Commerce Talks, and he's an author of the book titled The E-Commerce Book. Alex, thanks for being here with us today. I'd love for you to tell everyone who you are and what Spryker does.
Yeah, so it's correct. Thank you for the invitation. I'm co-founder and co-CEO of Spryker. Actually, I am a veteran of the e-commerce industry. So I started there like 15 to 20 years ago when e-commerce was just a channel and not an industry. That's actually also the subtitle of my book. And I was luckily involved in a job situation where I was able to observe what was happening in e-commerce on a global level in 2005 to 2010 for a mail order company, the Otto Group. And that really helped me to understand the whole market, the role of logistics, the role of the ERP system and warehouses. And out of this learning, we created Spryker in 2014 because more and more companies wanted to be able to compete with Amazon, with Zalando, with ASOS, creating very, very complex B2B journeys, building marketplaces, and all the software that was out there and still is out there was not capable to do it. So they were kind of limiting innovations, and we built a tool though they can do whatever they want. Gartner is calling it composable commerce in the latest Magic Quadrant from Gartner. We are the leader of this movement, composable commerce. It just means you can compose whatever you want. It's like a Lego Technic toolkit. You can compose the solution you want. You don't need to follow the demo. You don't need to build the Lego Technic truck. You can build your stadium, your church, whatever. And we are building the tool set for that, and now are the global leaders in this industry.
Yeah, look, thanks for sharing a little more context. What I find interesting about that is, there are a number of different software solutions that are out there today that they bring innovation to those who can't access it, like on their own, because maybe there are it's cost prohibitive, or they just don't have the talent, or they don't have the legacy of working in the industry for a period of time, but they're here to capture the market. They think they can deliver a real value to their specific audience. But that access to innovation, I think that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing here, is trying to give people an opportunity to compete at a higher level without the investment.
Yeah, and you have the same customer profile. It's not, most of our customers are not limited by the lack of ideas. They're like within the teams, within like the customer client relationship. There's so many ideas, so many stuff that can be done better. What is needed? So fast deliveries, a better transparency about where the inventory is at a time, and maybe late mile fast change of the destination, for example, and it's usually blocked by old IT structures. And that's actually where we are to break these things up, because there's so much stuff to be done in the e-commerce industry, and still teams are limited by tech capabilities, and there's something we want to solve.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think you're right. Traditional models, right, constantly being upended every day, almost whatever industry you're in, but specifically in what you do or what your customers do around e-commerce. Like certainly in the past 2 years, innovation or just expectations have accelerated. And I think, I know that one of your philosophies is innovate or die. And when I think about that, I just think about speed and adaptability. And, it's like those two things innovation can bring to customers and allow them to not be trapped by traditional methods, but also, stay competitive, stay out in front of competition just by utilizing what's out there and then aligning strategy to it. Do you find like that's a lot of what the need is when you talk to your clients?
Yeah, we have like traditional university backgrounds, like business administration, and within those backgrounds, they try to lecture us a tool set called like the Porter 5 Forces or the Boston Consulting Matrix.
Yeah.
And within those tool sets, the promise was we can predict the future of the market. So if we are really behaving A, B, C, the outcome will be D, E, F. And what digital actually proved, but that's not true. Only the companies that are adapting faster to customer changes or to market changes, those will win, regardless of the financial resources, regardless of the market position, regardless of some strategic assets. So that's the only strategy left that guarantees survival. It's like faster adaptation. Obviously, the proverb "innovate or die" kind of wraps it up in a nicer claim, but it's like I'm searching for strategies that are not so harsh, not so brutal for corporate companies, because innovation is hard. Digitization is hard. It's not a cool thing to do because you have to reinvent. You have to question yourself. I would rather go with just update ABC and then the output will be 10% better. But it's just the data. If you're looking at the market today, though, what kind of companies are leading, what kind of companies are really successful, those companies that can adapt faster win. And faster adaptation means you're faster on the way to innovation, because innovation cannot be planned. You just need to move, and then you find a new tool, a new solution, a new whatever that leads you to success. So that's really, I'm very honest here. I'd rather would recommend a different strategy that is easier to adapt by corporates, because these are our clients.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only strategy left.
It's so funny when I hear you talk about this. What I think is like, yes, a lot of people think that you need to have a consultant come in and build your 2, 3, 5-year plan and all these frameworks, and it's going to be a linear process, and you're going to do this, and that, and then this, that, and the other will happen. It's kind of funny. It's almost like corporate navel gazing. You spend so much time internally thinking about what strategies we use and what framework, all that. Instead, your strategy really should be customer led. And what the data that you're talking about is really, what are our customers telling us? What are the expectations of the customer? How fast are they moving? What are their behaviors? And it feels like that's the right place to start at all times when it comes to thinking about your strategy, and then how you accommodate that with whatever technology you use or whatever tactic or what have you. I think one of the things you talk a lot about is, from a customer perspective, is customer experience and how important that is right now. You can win or lose based on the experience you provide. And the experience is everything all at once together that a customer may feel. When you're working with customers, or just your own personal approach here, or your philosophy, your business philosophy, what makes a great customer experience? What do you start with, and what is encapsulated in that?
Yeah, I think a great customer experience is very easy. The journey just has to work, and we don't need to talk about like metaverse, AI-driven, whatever. It's just like being able to control your inventory, being able to predict like the way of your inventory, the prices, your make-to-order processes. So whatever you are promising on whatever looking website to your customer should just work. So and that's actually where most of the battles still can be won. It's not on the AI-driven product recommendation tool. And we have some customers. So a couple of years ago, many customers were pretty future optimistic. Could have been like AI, could have been like marketplaces, could have been whatever. But when we were looking together in the project with the customer and the details, we saw there was so much potential just on product data, on inventory data, on a better connection with logistic tools. Just being able to tell the customer when this kind of item will be received with a obviously high degree of with a high probability. This was like just 2 or 3 years ago. very, very, very hard to achieve because the old warehouse systems were never made actually for this kind of live inventory management. And therefore, I would still say focusing on the basics to deliver on your main promise is in many cases still the best way to go.
I think that's very sound advice. And what I'm hearing there too is just this idea of the data already exists. You have to find a way to access it and then make it actionable. It's like obvious in a way, but I think that when you marry the data, making it actionable with understanding the customer, right, as best as you absolutely possibly can, understand their behaviors, understand their changing expectations. Those two things, when you marry them together, can create a great experience. I think what's interesting about like what we both do in our respective companies is, you're driving experience through e-commerce and the buying process. And then we're on the pointy end of that from the delivery standpoint. And when you think about customer experience now, delivery has to be part of the overall customer experience. And so, we're constantly thinking about that as well, because if you're a consumer, all you care about is getting what you wanted, making sure you got it when you wanted, it's exactly what you wanted. And if you do, then you might have the opportunity to create a, customer for life, right, as a brand. So all of that, the managing all of that becomes incredibly important.
Yes.
Question for you. What trends are you seeing right now? What innovations are you seeing in the market that you think will have a significant impact on e-commerce in 2022 and in the next couple of years? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, right now I think we see two trends or two developments that will definitely have a huge impact on how we shop in the future. One thing is definitely also we are like moving into a recession and high inflation. There's still no unemployment rate in no developed country. So we are in every company, every owner, every entrepreneur I'm talking to. The biggest complaint is still, I don't find people. And sorry, Alex, I'm not in the software industry, so I cannot pay like super high salaries. I'm in the logistics industry. I'm in the retail industry, whatever. So whatever solution we come up with that are less dependent on like maybe last mile delivery personnel, let's say, for example, will definitely have an impact and a good shot in the next years. And we now see all this kind of locker solutions from Amazon or from DHL. And then there's so much space to innovate, to come up with like smarter solutions in this space where you might incentivize people to get all their orders in just one day a week and maybe not deliver to the door, but into like a container which is placed in a cheap parking spot outside the city or so, and people will use it. People will actually make use of it because it's cost efficient and there's less dependency on personnel. And I see the whole value chain, the whole like customer journey will be innovated by solutions with a higher degree of automation. That's trend number one. Mm-hmm. Trend number two, what I'm seeing, and as you said, I'm running my own podcast show and have like interesting guests in my podcast. There's lots of business models where that are focusing on the lower income class, and those business models are thriving now. Just two examples. So last week I recorded a podcast with the entrepreneur from Mercado México in Mexico. They are providing a solution for the owners of this very small stores. It's called tienditas. It's like you can have like a store where you're selling like everyday stuff, milk, butter, whatever from your own home. And there's thousands of those stores in every city. And this was actually an industry which was pretty much attacked by the supermarket industry. Obviously, they are aggregating all the stuff. But those tiendita owners, they are offering a service to a lower income class that cannot be offered by the supermarket or by higher income retail models. Those are thriving now. Those are like looking for new solutions. So which was super. We are coming from a market, like from a digital ecosystem where everything was aggregated over time. So the monopoly eventually won. And this is just one solution. Another one is like a recording from yesterday where a guy is running a platform for refurbished products. Refurbished products are not used products and not new products. It's a third category. it's not on Amazon because Amazon is not able like to understand this category, to put it in their catalog management. But obviously refurbished products, if you don't need like the newest iPhone, you still want to have like a product with a guarantee without scratch it, that's refurbished. And this category is thriving. And I am definitely very bullish for business models that can handle this kind of inflation level and will benefit from it, and we would see more and more and more. So standard lifestyle platforms that were focusing on new products will have a hard time in the future. Smarter models focusing on the needs of lower income classes, and there's no more lower income classes created through the inflation and through the recession will definitely thrive. That's just two examples, and there's more and more.
Yeah, and what I find interesting about both of those is they're really a reflection of consumer behavior, right? Consumer need. It's not necessarily I want something delivered at my house. It's I actually want something delivered in a much more convenient way that may be grouped together at a scheduled time. It may be at a pickup location on my way home, right? It's all about meeting the consumer where they are and meeting those expectations. And the other one, the same thing, but maybe just from a different angle. It's like, okay, the behaviors that we're seeing, they extend through all income class levels or what have you. And we've got to find different ways to meet those needs as well. And they may be different than the way we do more mass market, et cetera. So I find those really interesting because I think they're both consumer led. Okay, look, I think I have time for one more question.
Go ahead.
This one's kind of related from understanding what the consumer behaviors and needs are. So I'm a marketer, and I know that one of my priorities is to own that direct relationship with the customer, right? Third-party data is not something I'm relying on now. I want to own the relationship. I want people to know that I'm talking with them. We're not talking through a different medium. When you think about owning the direct relationship, especially in e-commerce, like, what's your opinion on that, and how are you seeing that manifested now in new innovation that's being brought to the category?
It's a very good point. And I think this first primary customer access or first party cookie theory was really developed for many manufacturers and consumer driven companies during Corona, when they've learned that when they are relying on marketplaces like Amazon or other platforms, they can just be sorted out within a mouse click. They don't have any customer relationship over there. And I argued about this for years. I argued you have to be very fast when it comes to innovation, so adapt faster. And whatever you do, focus on the direct customer access. If you don't own the customer access, then you have to rent it somewhere at Amazon, at Facebook or Google, and this kind of rent goes up. It's very expensive. So eventually you have to own the customer access. And then many manufacturers, many companies said, yeah, Alex, but we are not Amazon, we are not ASOS, we are not Zalando. We cannot build a platform that is kind of replicating this user experience. And I said, yeah, maybe, but you obviously you won't gonna be like the biggest manufacturers of cables, of HDMI cables. You need to create some differentiation there. You won't be the winner of the economies of scale game within the Amazon world. And then they kind of ignored this advice for a very long time, as far as they were able to grow with the Amazon growth. And the moment when the big marketplaces like Mercado Libre in Latin America, Allegro in Poland, Amazon in the Western world, Bol.com in the Netherlands, when they started to tweak the algorithm to really focus on their own margin, then they learned, oh shit, renting the customer access, that's maybe not the long-term strategy. That could have been like a short-term strategy, but now we have forgot to build our own digital capabilities. And to my surprise, this was learned very late. This kind of learning was accelerated a lot in the last years, especially through to COVID. But it's really resonating now. But it's for some companies it might be too late already.
And if it's too late, then you're done, because giving away that direct relationship, I love the way you say you're renting the relationship and the rent only goes up. You can't give away the relationship, because the relationship is so ingrained in what the experience is and what gets people to come back to you time and time again and become that valued customer for life. Alex, thank you for being here with us today on Special Delivery. I love learning about your business. I love chatting with you. For anybody else that wants to spend more time with Alex, please go visit his podcast, Commerce Talks, pick up his book, the e-commerce book. This man knows what he is talking about. Alex, I'll talk to you soon. Good luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, fascinating. Look, we have months worth of great guests lined up, and I hope they can be equally as good as Alex. Big thanks to him for taking time out of his day to spend time with us. Okay, before we go, I want to bring up a quick little segment that we'd like to end each show with called The Last Word on Last Mile. Now, today's last word is experience. We talked a lot about experience today, specifically the customer experience. And there's one point that I want to bring up here. I think that experience in and of itself, it's almost like a two-headed beast here, right? Because if you're a retailer, if you're a brand, if you're a business, and you're thinking about the experience, the delivery experience that you create, you're really thinking about on the back end, efficiencies, right? Operational efficiencies, cost effectiveness, being able to manage your delivery network, whether it's a owned network or it's an outsourced network, being able to optimize things in real time, making sure that the product that the consumer wants gets to their doorstep on time and is accurate and is done in a cost-effective way for them. So you're thinking about all the operational side, the logistics side of experience, and you should, and you have to nail that. Because if you don't, the other side of the experience discussion here is the experience of the consumer themselves. If you don't get all the logistics and the operations right, you're probably going to underdeliver on that experience that a consumer has. And that experience that a consumer has is one that starts with the click when they purchase whatever item it is online. And then that anticipation of getting what they want. And that anticipation or anxiety of, is it going to come on time? Is it going to be accurate? Am I going to get it in time for my daughter's birthday party or whatever that may be? Or do I like the way it landed on my doorstep? Was it in a safe place? Did they take care of me? Was the box crushed? Two different sides of the experience conversation, and you have to get them both right. Because ultimately, if you don't, in the eyes of the consumer, you have failed them and you have delivered a subpar experience, and you may never get them back because competition is fierce out there right now. And that is why we like to say, you need to be thinking about turning your delivery experience in your competitive advantage. And in order for you to do that, you've got to be operationally sound, and you also have to take care of your customer and put them first. And I think our conversation with Alex today touched on a number of different areas as to why and how the experience needs to be first and foremost when you think about strategy. I'm going to call back to something we talked about, the idea of months-long thoughts about frameworks and strategies and 2 and 3 year planning. You kind of don't need that because the answers are right there in front of you in the data that you're creating and the interactions that you have with your customers every day. And it's also in the customer sentiment that hopefully you're collecting on a regular basis and trying to understand, did they have a good experience? If they didn't, why? How can you use their poor experience to make sure that you never make that same mistake again, and that you continue to deliver what is most valued, superior customer experience? So think about that as you think about your last mile strategy. Do you need to go acquire a company? Do you need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars building your own last mile technology? Or do you go find a trusted provider that can help you deliver on both sides of the experience equation? Okay, so last word on last mile today is experience. That's our show today. Again, we're going to be seeing you every last Thursday of every month right here on Special Delivery. We'll be sharing with you, again, headlines and trends that we're seeing. We're going to bring on great guests, and I think we're going to have a good time together. Now, I want to say thank you to Let's Talk Supply Chain, our sponsor here. We're very proud to be a part of your network. You do a fantastic job with all of your shows and all of your programming, and we're really happy that Special Delivery is a part of what you do. Okay, thanks to everybody that showed up today. Thanks to everybody that provided comments, and we'll see you in September on Special Delivery. Thank you.